What's good out there, family and friends, man? Appreciate y'all joining in to your boy Billionaire Charlie, man. Don't forget to donate to the channel. It's hashtag Billionaire Charlie, man. I love everybody out there. I appreciate y'all coming and tuning into the show. We got a great and amazing show today. We're going to get into it today, man. The mystery, the evidence of the Nipsey Hussle case, man. There's a lot of stuff that y'all been missing out on, man. And I'm going to inform y'all and keep y'all updated on this information, man. Remember, hashtag Billionaire Charlie. Put in your donation. Help the channel grow, man. If you support me and you like my channel, man, please donate to hashtag Billionaire Charlie. Join us on the Patreon, man. And just support us out here, y'all. We got the clothing brand out. Go to the description box right now, and you can find out our clothing. We got all nice clothing out, man. The wife also got the book out right now, Free Me. We need y'all to concoct that. It's right in the description box, man. We got all the links to all the products, man. But we're going to get into this, man. It's a very, very, very revealing situation, man. We all know Eric Holder got paid off. I told y'all before it was a deeper situation than some gang banging type of thing going on. You know what I mean? Somebody ran to play, man. They wanted situations to go their way, basically, man. And like I said, man, they did this to the Black Panthers back in the day, man. The same movement, man. They seen what Nip was doing, and they want to tear it all down, man. You know what I'm saying? One thing about being in LA, man, this is one of the places where you have some of the crickiest cops. You know what I mean? Cricketers organizations and things of that nature, man. But like I say, man, I'm going to let my people explain this stuff to you, man. You dig what I'm saying? We're going to break it all down for y'all, man. I want y'all to listen up very, very closely so y'all don't miss out on no information. Get your pen and pad out. You dig what I'm saying? But love, God. Peace, God.
The involvement of ownership and things like that. Well, he came out and officially said something on his Instagram, and I'm going to read this. He said, after 2 New York Times articles in the past month, one of which the city attorney leaked these documents and others, and the LA Times article coming, I have to speak. Now, the articles he speak of, you guys can see up top right now. I'm not going to read those, but you guys can read those as I read this caption. Now, it was never my intention to go public with this because, one, it's damaging for the world to think I'm being investigated or engaged in conflict with a city agency. 2, it's not my story to fully tell. And 3, they play the long game and will surely find a way to F us. So I've been playing it cool for the last 6 months while essentially locked in a standoff with the LA city attorney and the LAPD over Slauson Plaza. The Los Angeles city's attorney's office was trying to end us. Literally, they wanted to expel the Marathon store from Slauson Plaza. No doubt, if Nip was alive, they'd still be stalking it after dodgingly pursuing him, his brother, his team, and his business for damn near a decade to no avail. Again, their story to tell when appropriate. But when I partnered with them to buy the lot, I got to experience the ways these systems work together firsthand. The city attorney hated with all their hearts that their maniacal zeal to expel the Marathon store from Slauson Plaza actually resulted in us buying it and planning to develop it. It was embarrassing and a slap in the face when they started trying to press me to evict the store, only to find out that I'm partners with Nip, Sam, and Alan. So the city attorney then came at me and then sent the cops at me and ultimately tried to leverage the press against me by leaking docs and emails to the New York Times to smear us and make our ownership of the lot seem like the problem in the Crenshaw district. That caused real problems for me that I still can't fully address it because it's ongoing. It hurt live deals and brought some to a complete halt. This shit is a cold game and then some. The system is mindless, heartless, relentless machine designed to keep us locked into systems, jail and courts, and out of other capital markets and property ownership. It sounds crazy and conspiratorial only because it is more to come. Oh God, we've been waiting for something from him. We've been like, he's quiet. What's your thoughts on finally hearing something from him?
My thing is when things are starting to ring bells to me, Sam, man, is when he's talking about, the Los Angeles and the type of tactics that they're using to try to derail this whole operation. It keeps popping in my head when you look about, I always talk about the old Black Panther movie, and we talk about J. Edgar Hoover and the COINTELPRO, and this is coming from a government level, city government, but still government nonetheless, and they're throwing monkey wrenches, and it's the same tactics that has been getting used over years now. Ever since we've been talking about the Marathon and Nip and things like that, I've been getting emails and comments, people saying, this was an area that's prime. They're about to build a railway and this, that, and the third on there. So it's an area where, is going to be real big. So again, David Gross, Nipsey, maybe he had difficulties getting it, but when he partnered up with him and they had the same vision and the same idea, it was a threat. Now they were going to make this happen. And not only was they going to do that, they were planning on building other areas up in that city and making things happen and really turning that thing, to what they wanted to turn it to. But that goes against the plans of the gentrifiers and the people who want to do what they want. They have their plans for that community. If you have people of color to start to get empowered, and now, okay, they got the credit, they got the capital, they got savvy business investors now. There's nothing we can do, so we're going to try to do this. So he said to L.A., they moved to another, chess move to try to, send the police on them, which we got footage of them bothering Nipsey for years. Nipsey has been in numerous standoff with the LAPD. So that's why I think that when people talk about, the C word about the LAPD and maybe they could have been involved, people get real scared. But why? Everything is pointing that a city government doesn't want a particular business to be here. And they're trying to blame it on and say that this is because of crime. And then they said he was being investigated by the police. So my thing is, if anybody wanted him out of the picture, who was it? Mm-hmm. You see the picture is clear as day. So who wanted this man out of the picture? And maybe if you take, because, all right, Gross alone is one thing, but Nip is the man. He's the cash cow. He's the one that's about to be a multi-million-dollar rapper, or if not already was. He's the one that got the power, the influence. He's the one that's driving all the traffic to this area and then some, making deals with Rock Nation, just growing bigger and bigger in the area and in the industry. That served as a problem for their plan. So y'all could put two and two together. I ain't even got to say it.
Something's ringing in my head, and it's been ringing in my head since he said it, and it was our brother Kenyatta. And it was right off the heels of when Nip passed, right? And he brought up the word. He said, I remember when Nip wanted to get the book, and he brought me to his Vector 90 spot. And I'm like, Vector 90? What is that? And that's the first time I was introduced to David Gross and the name. And I was like, whoa. And when you looked at the power behind what was going on in there, and Kenyatta said it, he said, when you look at what was going on in there and the community work they were doing to build businesses and stuff like that, and then you go and allude to the COINTELPRO and them putting monkey wrenches and trying to break that up, it was some powerful shit going on in an area where we talked about it because we were out there a little bit a while ago, lacking culture in a lot of areas, but the strongest places where you feel that shit in the goddamn soil, worst poverty at the bottom, least amount of hope, until you have programs like Vector 90 and the Slauson Plaza, what they were about to create. And it only makes sense for now this man, the brains behind all the brawn, and the brains as well as Nip and Sam and Alan and everything that they had going on. Why not put him next and smear his name? And we see a great job of it, because now you hear his name or Google his name or look you to his name. It ain't nothing but a bunch of wild shit. Speculation.
Not to cut you off, Sam, man, do you think that could also be a tactic of somebody? You think that some of these people could be paid to actually what they did, sending the police after them? Why wouldn't they put people on the internet or anything? Because this is another thing that COINTELPRO did, spread false information. Now the tools of disseminating information is YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. How do you feel about that?
This is my thing. This is what I say. Do I think that they're paying people? Nah. I don't think that they're paying people, because I don't think no one on YouTube has enough in them to take that pressure. What I think is that people are police in there. Now, I'm not going to speculate who. I'm not going to sit here and say who. I don't know. I'm not throwing any speculation at anybody. Some people like to get on here and just based off of their wild opinions and speculation, put together and wrap together a nice package and deliver it as truth. And also going to have to deal with the consequences of whoever's saying it, and them having to deal with that, whether that be legally, face-to-face, or whatever. But it is not beyond the realm of speculation or imagination to believe that. Why not?
Right.
You got somebody that can talk well. You give them all the information. They're cool. They're trying to up and coming. Oh, yeah, and they look and walk and talk the part. Put them in there. I used to work in a casino where I used to work and be around a lot of the undercover units. They used to deal with the gaming and things like that. State police. Some slick talking, make you believe anything if you're a gullible motherfucker, and get you caught up in some shit out there. It happens. Now it's on a slower level, so
right.
Man, it's not out of the realm of speculation. I never even thought of that till you said it, but yeah, why not?
It's crazy, man. I mean, that's huge what he said, man. I mean, that is huge because that's what we've been, our thinking. We're like, man, it kind of just circled back around, you know what I mean? Because then his mom at the BET Awards, it kind of all circled and made full circle to the LAPD being real dirty, you know what I mean, with this whole situation. But that's David Gross saying it. The City Hall, Los Angeles, and everything, just really just out to get them and stop them from making expansions in that area, man.
Now we see the Marathon store made the statement online to put it on Twitter, and she made the statement that they're going to create a memorial and put together something for Nip. His birthday's coming up, commemorating his life and things like that. A great thing. We gave our speculation on whether or not the Marathon store will open or not open. What do you think is going to happen going into the next couple of stages into this as far as the LAPD? Do you think they're going to give them more problems? What do you see happening in the future for that development?
I think that hopefully, here's what I'll say, that Mr. Gross and Nip's family can, continue, I should say, a cohesive unit in this, even though the Nip is gone, because they're going to be after him. They're going to still try to attack him to the point where I think they're going to try to make it to a point where it's no longer profitable for them to be in that area, which I don't see how they could do that. But they're going to keep putting pressure on them. So I just think that it's important that they stick together, through this whole ordeal, because it could turn into a real messy situation. He's still, in red tape, going back and forth with the city and everything. I don't know about the store opening again. I think it'll just turn into a online, just selling merchandise like that, and it'll move forward like that. That's pretty much my opinion on that one.
All right, man. To wrap this all up, David Gross, we've heard a lot of wild things as of late.
Yeah.
We've all been able to sit back and form our own opinion. After hearing this and after giving our dialogue, what's your overall thought on David Gross?
I don't know a lot about him, but here's what I will say. I don't think that Nip would being as bright as he was, being as smart and as intelligent as he was as a businessman, that he would get somebody who wasn't equally or even more what he was, iron sharpened iron. So I think that this dude, I don't know a whole lot about him, but I just, I'm going off pretty much Nip's reputation as having a great partner with him. And I think, obviously knowing Kenyatta, who's a good friend of Nip, he was down there, obviously probably interacting. So I just think that, he's on an up and up. Until I see any information out there to suggest differently, I think he's just a good businessman that Nipsey, partnered up with to make something big happen for that area, man.
Well said.
Yes, sir. But
the gun, what did he do with it? I don't know, like that day, like I went back home and then I never seen the gun no more. That's when I started seeing the other guns. Okay, well, let's talk about that. Other than the first time seeing him get a gun from Harold, did you see him with a gun on any other occasions? Yes. Tell us about that. I saw him with a gun, maybe. I guess it's going on like the second week. I saw this gun. Which one? The 9 millimeter. And you're pointing to the black gun on Grand Jury Exhibit 17? What did that gun look like? What do you mean, what did it look like? The gun? It looked like, well, it was like the name on this one, like how this one says stainless right here on top. The one he had said Rug. Rug? Yes. R-U-G? Yes. Okay, so you're saying that you pointed to the black gun in Grand Jury Exhibit 17. At the top slide area of the gun is engraved the word stainless, correct? Correct. You're saying on the gun you saw Eric with, it was very similar to the gun shown on this diagram, but it had the word Rug, is that correct? Yes. Could it have been Ruger? Maybe, because I didn't really look at it like how I'm looking at this one, but I know it started with an R, and I know it was like R-U-G. I think it was Rug, but I didn't know if it had any letters after that. Okay, how many times did you see him with that gun? Maybe like 3 times or so during that week. Okay, and then after that week, did you continue to see him with that gun? No, well, yeah, but he wasn't carrying it like that, just only sometimes. Like, for instance, like when we had went to LA one time, he wanted to get a hat. I seen it that time. All right, so let's clarify this. Sometime during the second week that you knew him, yes. You saw him with what you described as a black 9mm handgun that had at least RUG engraved at the top, correct? Correct. Sometimes you would see him carrying it on his person, and then other times you would just see it where? At his house? No, I wouldn't see it like at all. Like sometimes I would see it like, for instance, like we'd go out like I said, like I mentioned about the hat or on riding. Sometimes we'll just go riding. I'll see it, but he wouldn't bring it all the time. If he did brought it, I didn't see it. Sometimes I'll look at him just to see if he have it or whatever. When he carried that black handgun, where on his body did he carry it? In his front? Front what? Like front of his jeans, like pants. In the waistband area of his jeans? Yes. Could you see, when he had it, obviously, in order to know he had it, you had to see some part of it, correct? Correct. What part of the gun would you see whenever you saw it in his waistband? I would see this part. The handle part? Yes. Did you ask him any questions about why he carried the gun as much as he did? No. Why not? Just because when I asked him before about the other gun, he said for safety. I just took it as that, like he was just carrying it for safety. Had you ever seen anybody try to attack him? No. Have you ever seen any situation where you thought he needed a gun to protect himself? Just like the area we live in, like, maybe. Okay, because it's a bad area, you just assumed it was okay that he'd carry a gun? Yes. And so it didn't concern you that he was carrying a gun? No. Were those the only two guns you ever saw him with? Yes, and besides the other one I told you about. So there's the big silver one that sort of looks like the black 9 in this exhibit, but bigger and a different color, correct? Correct. You saw him with one time? Right. And you saw him with a black gun, which you call 9mm, very similar to the gun in this diagram, a black one, and you saw him with that several times, correct? Correct. Did you see him with any other guns? No, he did have the pistol, but I never saw him with it out until March 31st. Where did you see it before March 31st? I don't know like the exact date, but one day I came over his house and it was on the couch. And tell us what you saw on the couch. I saw the pistol. The handle part right here was wrapped in duct tape, the gray duct tape. And you're pointing to the black handle of the smaller gun in the diagram? Yes. Okay. What did the top part of the gun look like? It looked like this, but it looked like it was old. Okay, and when you say it looked like this, are you talking about the finish on the gun, like a chrome or gray finish? Yeah, I'm talking about the chrome, like the paint on it. How would you describe it? What color? Like a dark gray. Did you ask him any questions about that gun? Yes, I was like, what is this doing here? He hurried up and took it in a back room at his house. Did he work at all during the time that you knew him? No, I asked him, did he have a job? He said yes, he worked at King's Restaurant and he's not working right now because he was in a car accident, but he was still getting money, getting paid. So let me ask you a question, and it's not a judgmental question, but I want your honest response. You met a guy, yes, who did not have a job. I assume he was not in school, is that correct? Correct. He had a lot of tattoos, correct? Correct. You saw him in possession of at least 3 different guns, one that he carried occasionally, correct? Correct. He told you he needed guns for safety, correct? Correct. He wasn't particularly affectionate towards you, didn't introduce you to people, or ever kiss you, is that correct? Correct. Did you at any time when you were with him have any concerns for your safety? No. Why were you with him? I was just with him if we go out or something, I'll hang out with him, but I wasn't looking for him as a boyfriend type. I was thinking maybe it could have been since he wanted to meet my mom. I just thought we were just kind of playing it by ear, getting to know each other. Did you really like him? I did like him, but not like him, like that. I just thought he was cool. He was cool to go out and eat with and stuff. Did you ever introduce him to any of your friends? No, my landlord knowed him, and I asked my landlord about him, though. I did question some stuff with her. I just asked her, like, did she know him? And she was like, well, don't tell us. Okay, what your landlord said. Oh, that's okay. So for the month that you knew him leading up to March 31st, you told us this morning and this afternoon some of the things that you knew about him, correct? Correct. Was he ever violent toward you in the time that you knew him? No. Has he ever threatened you? No, just the day of the shooting. Okay, we'll get to that. Okay. But up until that day, had he ever threatened you? No. Had you seen him ever being violent toward or threaten someone else? No. Did you ever see him get into any fights? No. Did he ever express any kind of violent temper with you that so much that it scared you a little bit? No. All right, so let's talk about March 31st. Did you start off that day working? Yes. How did you get together with Eric on that day? I called him after I finished working and he wanted to get something to eat from In-N-Out. Okay, is there an In-N-Out in the town where both of you were living? Yes. Okay, did you go to that In-N-Out? No. Why not? He didn't want to go to the In-N-Out. He wanted to go somewhere else. He wanted to ride to LA. How many times had you been to LA with him before the 31st? 4. On those 4 prior occasions, where in LA did the two of you go? We went to Santa Monica, Hollywood, in the area where the shooting was at one time, and I think it was only 3 times though. Okay, so of those 3 times, Santa Monica sounds like beach day. Yes. Is that what it was? Yes. Like a day at the beach? Yeah. What about Hollywood? What did you do there? Just kind of like went there. He got a Cowboys hat. Cowboys meaning the football team? Yes. Okay, and what else did you do? Did you walk around? Did you go to the movies, eat? No, just went there, got the hat, and just kind of like right up and down the strip. Okay, and now you said you had gone to the area of Crenshaw and Slauson with him one time before the 31st. Tell us about that. Yes, I went over there. He wanted to get a shirt from this liquor store that's not too far from the plaza where the shooting happened, and that was it. Just kind of rolled over there, got that, and then came back where we live at. When was that? Maybe like the second week or so, like the weekend, like close to the weekend, like on a Friday, like the second week in March. Yeah, like the second week in March. Okay, and tell us about this shirt. What was so special about the shirt he needed? There wasn't nothing special about it. It was like a regular shirt that you can get like local, like where we live at. When you were with him in that area on that occasion, did he make any stops anywhere or talk to anybody in the neighborhood? No, he wanted to stop and get a Crenshaw shirt also that day too, but I was like, no, I'm ready to go, back on his side. He wanted me to buy the shirt, and I was like, I'm not going to buy the shirt. Okay, and what is a Crenshaw shirt? I guess it's like a logo with the word Crenshaw running across it. I didn't really know too much about it. Did he tell you where he wanted to go purchase that shirt? He said in the area. Did you ever go to a particular place for him to buy the shirt? No. Before leaving? No. You said that he wanted you to purchase the shirt? Correct. In this relationship that you had, who did all of the driving anytime you went somewhere? I did. Who paid for things whenever you went out with him? We kind of, what do you call it, like Dutch sometimes. He'll pay for some things and I'll pay for something. Was it about even, or was one person paying more than the other? Even. So you got together with him on the 31st, presumably to go get some food at In-N-Out, and then something happened to change the plans, correct? Correct. How did the plans get changed? I told him I wasn't hungry. I had already ate, so he was just like, well, we just go to LA then. Had you already eaten? Yes. And so you were going to LA. Was that for you or for him, or it was mutual? It was just like mutual. Like, it was like a Saturday, and I was like, okay, I don't mind riding out that way. What time did the two of you leave where you lived to go to LA? Around 1:30 maybe, like around 1 o'clock, something like 1:30. And did you have to pick him up from someplace? From his place. So you picked him up about 1:30 and started driving to Los Angeles, is that correct? Correct. Were you the driver? Yes. Were you always the driver of your car when you were with him? I would let him drive sometime, but just in the area, like not nowhere far. Well, I did let him drive when we got the shirt. I did let him drive over there. So there were occasions where you let him drive your car? Yes. Was there ever an occasion you let him drive your car when you were not with him? Yes. Tell us, how many times did that happen? One time. When was that? I was at work. I let him drop me off at work. Maybe this was like the third week. I let him, take my car. He said he wanted to pick up some t-shirts while I was at work. Did he have a cell phone, by the way? Yes. Did you drive straight to LA after picking him up at about 1:30? Yes. And the plan was to get something to eat? Right. How was he dressed when you picked him up? With no shirt on and a bandana around his neck? Right? Right. You were living by yourself? Yes. Did he live very close to where you live? Yes. So obviously, if you had left him there, he would know how to get to you if he got out of there, correct? Correct. Were you at all concerned about that? The fact that he knew where you lived, knew where your mother lived, did that play any part in your decision making that day? No, because I didn't know that he did it. It was more so I didn't know if he got hurt or whatever, what was going on that day when I heard the gunshots. Okay, so you didn't stay there because of fear of him. You stayed there because your testimony is you didn't believe that he had done anything wrong? Right. And in your mind, he could have just as well been being shot at as opposed to shooting somebody. Is that your testimony? Yes. Has everything you testified before the grand jury true? Yes. You know you're testifying under an immunity agreement, which means nothing you say here can be used against you on any future prosecution, correct? Correct. And I did explain that agreement to you as well as your lawyer. Yes. When I explained that agreement to you, did I tell you that one of the reasons you were being given use immunity is so you would be free to tell the whole truth even if it didn't reflect well upon you? Did I tell you that? Yes. You're free to tell the whole truth because you don't have to be concerned that anything that you say here will be used against you in a future prosecution, correct? Correct. And you understood that, correct? Understood it. When you answered questions here, did you answer the questions as truthfully as you possibly could? Yes. Did I explain to you that any statements you made, and you made statements to the police after being advised of your rights, you made a statement to me again after being advised of your rights, where you talked about what happened, correct? Correct. And you understand that those statements could be used against you in a prosecution if the district attorney's office decided to prosecute you for something related to this case. Do you understand that? I understand. All right. Well, thank you. No further questions. And one thing additional, that if you're required to tell the truth, and if you don't tell the truth, then you can be prosecuted using the statements here before the grand jury. You understand that as well, correct? Correct. Your lawyer told you that? Yes. Okay, I don't know if Mr. McKinney said that as well, but you do understand that? Yes. Because your lawyer told you that? Yes. And I told you that before we started, correct? Correct. Okay, are there any jurors with any questions for this witness? Raise your hands, please. And you understood me when I told you that, correct? Correct. This is a question from the grand jury. What was your state of mind when you were speaking to the detectives in that first interview? Like scared, like trying to explain myself to him about what was going on. Like I seen my car, so I wanted to tell the truth what was going on. Did you feel any undue pressure to tell the story in any particular way other than the truth? DA follow up. DA follow up. Did you feel any pressure during that interview? Yeah, I felt a little pressure, but not I felt pressure, but I was more so scared too. Scared of what? DA follow-up? Just scared, just talking about it because I was already like shook up about the situation. Question from the grand jury. How much sleep did you have between Monday night and Tuesday morning when you met with the detectives? So after learning what you learned Monday night, how much sleep did you get that night before going to the station to talk to the detectives? I really didn't sleep. Did not sleeping affect your ability to understand or answer questions on that Tuesday morning? DA follow-up? DA follow-up? Yes. In what way? Like in a way like my body was just tired, like to be able to like answer questions and stuff. My body, it wasn't itself. Was the interview conducted in an interview room at the police station? Yes. How many detectives were in the room with you? 2. Was it a small room? Yes. Did you take any breaks during that 5-hour interview? Meaning, did you get up and leave the room, stretch, talk to your mom, get something to eat, anything like that? No, just use the restroom. Do you believe that they were focused on what the questions were, or did you feel rushed in any? That's a compound question. Were you focused on the questions that were being asked? Yes, I was focused trying to give my statement, as best as I remember everything. Did the detectives make you feel rushed at all in the way that they asked the questions? Not so rushed, just kind of like the way they was asking me, like trying to like make me feel like I did it, that type of questioning. Okay, well, is it true that basically there were 2 officers there, but one asked 95% of the questions, correct? Correct. And is it true that they were very polite and cordial to you and respectful to you during the interview? Yes. You have no complaints about the way you were treated, correct? No, just the way the questions was answered. Okay, so at some point, the detective who was asking most of the questions became more accusatory in his questioning and doubtful of some of your answers, correct? Correct. Is that what you mean? Right. When you say that? Yes. All right. Question from the grand jury. Who paid for the motel? He did. Did he, DA follow up? Did he ask you to pay for the motel? No. Did you offer to pay for the motel? No. Those are DA follow-up questions. DA follow-up question. When you talked to the detectives, did you tell them about the motel? Yes. Did you tell them where the motel was located? I gave them the card. The card from the motel? Yes. Question from the grand jury. Prior to the shooting, were you in love with Eric Holder? No. Did you, DA follow-up, did you have a strong emotional attachment to him? No. When you were answering those questions to the detectives and to myself, did you feel a desire to try to protect him? No. Arrived at the store, you went inside the store to attempt to purchase a shirt, was told that they didn't have your size, and then you walked out and had a conversation with Nipsey. Is that correct? Yes. Was that part of the story true? Did you ever listen to the question, did you ever go into the store that day? No. Okay. Pardon me? This is being provided as potentially exculpatory evidence pursuant to People versus Johnson. Please consider this evidence as you would any other evidence that is presented to you during the course of this hearing and your deliberations. Okay, so I know you previously testified that when you went to the store, it was your intent to go in and buy a shirt, correct? Right. Is that a yes? That's correct. But the fact is you never went into the store to attempt to make a purchase, correct? No, they said he's outside. I said, okay. Okay, when you made those statements to me and to others in the past that you actually went into the store, did you make that statement because you were afraid that if you admitted that you just went and only spoke to Nipsey, that it would somehow affect your parole status? I did. All right, thank you. In addition to the conviction for murder that you previously testified about, you also prior to that had about 4 felony convictions for drug sales. Is that correct? I did. And that's just the way you were living your life at that time in your life. Is that correct? Yes, sir. All right, thank you. No further questions. Any questions for this witness from any grand jurors? Please raise your hand so the sergeant at arms can collect them. While we're waiting for that question, may I ask another question? Yes. Where's Shermy? Probably at work. Okay, you guys currently live together? Yes, sir. And do you know whether he's aware that we were trying to get him to come into court and give testimony? Well, he says, you don't have to tell me what he says, but have efforts been made at your residence? Yes. To try to, yes. Locate him? Yes. Okay, all right, thank you. This is a grand juror question, but you previously answered this question when you were asked by Mr. McKinney. You did not see the shooter's face, correct? No, I didn't. Okay, any additional questions? Okay, this is a grand juror question, and it refers to your parole and maybe why your answer regarding what you did as soon as you arrived there was a little different. So you were imprisoned for a murder, and you were released out on parole, correct? Yes, ma'am. And there are conditions of parole when you're released out on parole, correct? Yes, ma'am. And sometimes part of that condition of parole is that you do not congregate or associate with known gang members. Is that correct? Correct. Was that the condition that you were concerned about, or was there another condition? That was a condition because they said he's not like that at all over the community before this happened. I said, okay. But you were concerned that your parole officer, who is the person who supervises you, right, when you're released from prison and you're on parole, would violate your parole. And if you violate, your parole is violated, what happens? You go back to prison. Because parole is allowing you out with conditions, and if you violate them, then you go back to serve the full term. Is that correct? I served the full term. Well, but you served your full term and you were released, but there's still additional time if you violate your parole that you would have to serve in prison, correct? Yes. Okay, and you didn't want to go back, correct? No, ma'am. All right, any additional questions? Okay, Madam Foreperson, if you would please admonish the witness. Okay, it's the long version. Yes. Before you leave, please listen carefully to what I'm going to say to you now. You are admonished not to reveal to any person, except as directed by the court, what questions were asked or what responses were given, or any other matters concerning the nature or subject of the grand jury's investigation, which you learned during your appearance before the grand jury, unless and until such time as the transcript of this grand jury proceeding is made public. I wish to advise you that a violation of this order can be the basis of a contempt of court charge against you. Do you understand this admonition? Yes, ma'am. Now, Mr. Lathan, you have a lawyer. You may discuss with your lawyer any part of this testimony, the questions, the answers, and that's about it, but anything that you would like to. You are not restricted from any communications with your lawyer. Do you understand? Okay. If it's not your lawyer, you can't discuss anything. This is a secret proceeding, and you have been advised that if you violate that, then you could be held in contempt, okay? Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to recess right after this, and you're excused. And I'm going to ask Mr. McKinney if he will wheel you out, and then he can come back and get all his things, all right? And if the sergeant at arms could open the door for you? Thank you, Mr. Lathan. Or there's another door that leads into the insurance company. So there's a break room in the back of the Marathon store. So you have the Marathon store, there's a storeroom, and then the insurance. So we have a break room. Is that where you went? Yes. What did you go there to do? To eat my lunch. When you left, did you leave Mr. Lathan, Nipsey, Rimpau, and Lathan's nephew Shermy in the parking lot? Yes. Now I'm going to fast forward a little bit to 1410. And you just for the record, you let it continue to play until approximately 1407? Yes, and I'm going to start it back up at 1410:38. And do you see yourself walking into the store at this point? Yes. So that was you walking into that door, correct? Yes. Here is Nipsey, is that correct, with the white rag on his head? Yes. Mr. Lathan up against the car? Yes. Rimpow and Shermy, correct? Yeah. Let me pause it here because obviously you couldn't see what was happening at this point, correct? Yes. Pick up the story where you enter the break room. What happened next? Well, I'm sorry, let me interrupt. Pardon me. Mr. McKinney said while watching this video that you entered that door. Can you tell us which door you entered, and so that we know in watching this video and the record reflects that? So which door? Where it says the marathon next to the T-Mobile sign to the left of the T-Mobile. And that's in the top almost right corner of the picture, correct? Yes. Okay, go ahead. So now you're going to pick up when you went into the break room. So when I walked into the marathon store, walked around the corner, when I got to the break room, sat down with my salad, I heard the gunshots. I heard maybe a few gunshots. I started running out to the front. I heard some more gunshots. When I got to the front door, seen Nipsey on the ground and seen Holder running. Okay, where did you see Nipsey on the ground at? From that angle, I saw maybe by that white car up in there. I could just see him on the ground. When you say white car, are you referring to, well, you know what, better yet, let me show you an exhibit. Grand jury exhibit number 15. I'm showing you grand jury exhibit number 15. Do you recognize what's shown in this exhibit? Yes. What does it show? It shows me helping him. When you ran, after hearing the shots and running out of the marathon store back toward the parking lot, you testified that you saw Nip down. Is that correct? Yes. Nipsey down. Is this where you saw him? Yes. Okay, and it appears in this exhibit that you're leaning down over him trying to render some kind of first aid. Is that correct? Yes. You testified that one of the other things you saw when you came out was Holder running away. Did you testify that way? Yes. Let me go back to grand jury exhibit number 4. Can you point to or describe something on this exhibit that shows where you saw Holder as you re-entered the parking lot from the store? I think it was somewhere in this area, an area right by Master Burgers, up in that area somewhere, about to turn that corner. When you say turn the corner, are you referring to the corner at the edge of the Master Burger building and the alley? Yes. So he was running towards Crenshaw Boulevard? Yes. In that direction? Yes.
You can manage your team's work easily.
Just, I heard the yelling. I looked, I seen Nip on the ground and just looked up and I just saw him basically the back of his head. Okay, so you saw someone who you believe was Holder for a split second running away from the direction of the parking lot, correct? Yes. Did you assume that it was the same person who Nip had called shitty earlier? I didn't assume, I knew it. Yeah, I knew it was. Okay, how did you know it was him? I just know him when I see him. We had just talked to him. Okay, was the person you saw shirtless when you saw him running in that direction? At the time, I really couldn't say. At the time, like I said, I just looked up and remember seeing him and seeing my boy on the ground. Okay, so it was an assumption that you made based on that split-second observation, seeing a person running away from behind, correct? Yeah. Now, we saw in the last exhibit you rendering first aid to Nipsey. Did he have any obvious injuries that you saw? Yes. Can you just generally describe the kinds of injuries that you saw? What you saw? He had a bullet hole. He had a bullet hole between his arm right here. I was holding the blood and the bullet right here. And he had a bullet hole in his stomach. So you indicated under the arm and you took your right hand and put it sort of under your left armpit. Is that correct? Yes. And you also said there appeared to be another bullet hole on his lower right abdomen? Yes. Was he saying anything to you when you got up close to him? No, he was still breathing, like biting his tongue a little bit. Then he was just trying to fight it, trying to gain consciousness, and he was going out, and he just kept fighting. Did you stay with him until other people arrived? Yes. At some point, did his brother arrive? Yes. What's his brother's name? Sam. How long did it take, approximately? I know you weren't counting or looking at a watch, but approximately, or how would you describe how long before Sam arrived? He got there pretty fast, a couple of minutes maybe. And at some point, did police officers or paramedics arrive? Yes. Who arrived first, if you remember? Police. And did you notice whether anyone else appeared to be injured other than Nipsey? At the time, only person I saw was Nip. You work in this parking lot and you help the family with several of the businesses there, correct? Yes. Are you aware of any video cameras that are affixed to the strip mall? Yes. Are there a number of cameras affixed to the outside of the Marathon store? Yes. Do those cameras, or were those cameras working that day? Yes. Were they recording? No. Those cameras, of all the cameras in this area, there are cameras in front of this store that would be the closest to what happened, correct? Yes. Have those cameras ever recorded to your knowledge? Never. So those cameras then just show a live feed? Yes. Inside the store? Yes. Let me go back to Grand Jury Exhibit 8. You testified that this is the way Eric Holder looked when he first arrived and had that conversation with Nipsey, correct? Yes. Do you see any Rolling 60s symbols or gang tattoos in this photograph on him? Yes. What do you see? Looks like 60s on his stomach. Okay, and that would be these very large letters here? Yeah. Anything else that you could see in this picture? No. Did you see any weapons on him that day? No. I just want to look through my exhibits, sir, and see if there's any other exhibits I want to show you. For Mr. Douglas, please raise your hands so the sergeant-in-arms can collect them. Okay, let me go back to the grand jury exhibit number 15. In this photograph, you testified that you are kneeling and attending to Nipsey, who's on the ground in front of you, correct? Yes. Do you see this man over here to the left behind the white car with the license plate ending in 605? Yes. Is that Kerry Lathan? Or did you, that you knew who he was? Yes. How did you know Kerry? Just one of the older homies in the neighborhood? Okay, and what about, I asked you about his nephew or the driver of the car. In this photograph, there's a man standing up in dark-colored pants in the pink shirt. Do you recognize him? I recognize him just as the one that came with Kerry that day. Okay, did you know him before that day? Offhand, no, I don't think so. Okay, and that was a grand jury question. Yes, that was a question. The question from the grand jury was, does he know the other two victims? So I asked you earlier if you were Rolling 60s gang member, correct? Yes. How did you answer the question? Yes, but I'm no longer, I'm a gang. I was raised in the neighborhood. Now I try to stop people from becoming gangbangers. So Nipsey's one of the people that I taught not to do the gangbanging, do something else. I gave him other options through music, basketball, football, do something else. So since I came home from prison, I've been trying to get people out of the gangs. Okay, now when it comes to getting out of a gang, you can agree or disagree with what I'm about to say, okay? When it comes to getting out of a gang, sometimes I've heard it described as when you're from a neighborhood and you're part of a gang, you don't just get out of it. You redirect your energies, you redirect your focus, you stop engaging in certain criminal activities, but you're still loyal to your neighborhood and to your gang. Is that a true statement, or how would you change that? I wouldn't say you got to be loyal to your gang. You're always going to be affiliated with your gang just by where you live at. If your mother grew up in Inglewood, more than likely you're going to be affiliated with Inglewood, even if you bang or don't bang. It's just that's the section you grew up in. Doesn't matter if you're from Inglewood or not. It depends where your mama grew up at. Okay, so you first testified when you first met Nipsey, you tried to refocus him away from gang activities or criminal activities into something else. Is that correct? Yes. So that means that you were both affiliated with the 60s at the same time, at that time, correct? At the time when I met Nipsey in 2003, he was at that stage where he was from the hood. He was going to be from the hood eventually, and I told him the ins and outs of the hood, and I just told him about the hood, and he made decisions on his own. He hung with the homies for a while, and he weighed his options, and he chose. He made the right decision. He chose to do something different. Okay, and what about Holder? When did you first become aware of him? Do you remember what year, or if you can, just continuing back from the time this happened, how long it had been that you had heard of him, or for the first time? Basically, I met everybody 03, 04, right up in there. Like I said, they were youngsters back then. I think Nipsey might have been 19 or something when I first met him, 18, 19. So they were all young. Were you in the rolling 60s at the same time as Holder, or had you already left the gang life? No, I already left it, but I always been there. I always been there just dealing with the youngsters. That's just my neighborhood. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm gonna be at. Like I said, I'm just there to the ones that listen, they listen. The ones that want to continue to gangbang, it's on me just to tell them what's gonna happen. If you do this, it's gonna happen. If you do that, that can happen. I'm just here that's just my job, just to let them know, right from wrong. That's all I can do. When people live in the neighborhood, do they know who the gang members are? Yeah. Yes? Yes. Okay, and that was somewhat paraphrasing a grand juror question. Any additional questions from any grand jurors? And this is a grand juror question. I'm looking at Exhibit 15. There is a person to the right of you next to the black vehicle. Do you know who that person is? It looks like Rimpau. Rimpau? Okay. And did the conversation between Mr. Holder and Mr. Hussle Nipsey change during the entire time that you were there? No, the whole time I was there, like I said, I never would imagine that. I never had a clue, judging by the conversation, never had a clue that would happen. Had the conversation got anywhere heated, I would have never left. I would have escorted Holder out of there. Nipsey's an artist, so if he's feeling uncomfortable, I'm going to make sure he leaves. So he never felt uncomfortable around